Good morning, good afternoon, everybody, wherever you might be. I'm Jay Hersey. Pleased to have you join us today for a little information on our AcuContainer container tracking solution. With me is Alec Bagdasarian, our Chief Solutions Architect. I wanted to give a little bit of an introduction as to who IIG is before Alec gets into talking more details about the product. IIG is a gold certified partner of Acumatica. We're headquartered in Southern California and have over 25 years of experience with business process management solutions. We serve organizations with both domestic and international operations and have about 40 employees now. We've been fortunate to be able to add to our team through the whole COVID issues. IG is a very robust development team dedicated to Acumatica. They have not only produced a number of enhancements for the platform, but we also provide custom programming services to Acumatica users through their partners. Acumatica's development team is very well credentialed. To date, IG has published 16 enhancements for the platform, 9 of which have been submitted for certification and successfully earned certification by Acumatica. We're very proud of that. Ultimately, we really understand the platform, the development conventions, and have good, stable product. One of the things that we're particularly proud of is we have earned Acumatica's Innovation Partner of the Year. There are some really great companies in the Acumatica ecosystem, and that's really why we're so proud of it. Here's a glance at some of the enhancements that we have developed. We're going to be talking about container tracking today, but IG has a wonderful tool for work order management. It can be light manufacturing for assembly. It brings a lot less cost and complexity than full-blown manufacturing for those companies that really have their needs are lighter. We can make the Acumatica platform look like a glove-fitting solution for equipment rental companies. Rebate processing, consignment, royalty, commission processing, all areas that we can help streamline in a company. We also have tools to help with shipping automation focused on less than truckload. And a couple of the products that we published and successfully went through Acumatica certification were purchased from us. Our point of sale and our Gmail integration were purchased from us by Acumatica. That's something that we think that's a big feather in our cap. Some recently released enhancements: quality control, the ability to manage quality control steps, statuses, results, notes that can be inserted into different processes within Acumatica. Being able to add bill to line items on a sales order, and it will bring in the relationship and the terms with that bill to customer for that line item. Core processing, great for heavy equipment, automotive industry to help track cores and make sure nothing gets lost. Being able to item grouping, the ability to group items in a sales order. It's really an efficiency tool. You put in one item and it pulls in a number of other items. The ability within our AcuKit pricing to be able to group stock and non-stock items and then have the pricing by item. And then for those organizations that are needing EMV chip processing for credit card processing or signature capture, our EMV AcuEMV solution helps with that. All of the enhancements that we developed, including our container tracking, are built inside the Acumatica code set. They're part of the core product, and there's obvious benefits to that. We're not calling it from a different system. Okay, some of the common challenges that we hear from organizations is that, they're after visibility. They want to know, what's in transit, where is it? They want to better understand the status and the ETA of containers. Also, what POs are on a container or across a container, and we're helping to bring visibility to that. And also, we're getting questions about assisting with calculating landed costs and allocating those, and creating receipts of goods. Alec is going to go over this information with you, show you some slides to orient you into the flow and the setup, and then show you a live demonstration of it. If you have any questions, please type them into the GoToMeeting, and we'll make sure that they get answered before we get off today. All right, with that, I'm going to pass the ball over to Alec. And
great, thank you, Jay. Wait till you allow me to share my screen.
All right, I'm working on it. There we go. Okay, all yours, Alec.
Great, thank you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over a quick PowerPoint presentation, which will have detailed information about our container processing enhancement. Then after that, I'll start showing you the actual program and put us through a cycle. So what we allow you to do is to create container transactions, and you can load from purchase orders all lines of a purchase order, specific lines, or partial quantity of a line. So this container transaction that is created, then we allow you to track its statuses. We would show you what items are in that container if you look at it from inventory allocation screens and so forth. The idea is that then you could receive that entire container in the warehouse all in one shot. So it fills that gap between the point that you approve the POs until you receive it. And one of the most valuable things to many is that when you get an invoice for a landed cost, you can enter it into the container transaction. It will go automatically allocated to every line item in the container. So you don't have to put that invoice aside, wait till you have the product and enter it as part of receiving a process. We allow you to receive that container into an in-transit warehouse. So if your FOB is foreign docked, you can receive it into an in-transit warehouse. We will create an IM receipt transaction in Acumatica, receive it into in-transit warehouse that is set up by warehouse or by destination warehouse by vendor. And when the product reaches in your main warehouse, we will completely reverse up that in-transit transaction. We will automatically calculate the duty and tariff for you based on the country of origin and the custom classification code that you link to the item. And we will allow you to do optionally IIG with QC enhancement will allow you to do quality control. You can define what QC functions you want to perform. On the roadmap is the shipping lane integration, which I'm going to show you today. And also we're working on a project which will enhancement that would allow you to track by container what inventory has been allocated to sales order. So it's been generated. It was a main to purchase order credit from the sales order transaction, or if it's been generated manually or by the Acumatica fulfillment module, we will allow you to start committing that inventory to sales orders. And when the product reaches your main warehouse, we'll automatically create the inventory allocation record. So this is the settings, landed cost related, container related setting in the purchase order preferences. So the things like auto duty calculation, auto landed cost allocation, or automatically changing the arrival or the date, the promised date of the PO based on the actual or the expected arrival, that you can do that. So when you're creating a container transaction, you can do that. This is where by stock item, we allow you to enter your custom classification code. You select from one of the custom classification codes, and this is where you're able to, by custom classification code, enter the tariff by country. This is a container transaction. We look at a container transaction 64. And as you can see, we've loaded items from one purchase order, but it could be from many different purchase orders. You can even load items from multiple vendors into one container transaction. Containers have statuses, planning, broker has it, it's on the water. And basically we store some other information here for you. So you at any point in time, you could create generic inquiries that would show you what type of containers you have, what's the status of them, and so forth. These are some dates. So we're looking at the dates tab, and basically you may not use all the dates, but typically customers use the expected and actual arrival date and a departure date. But there's a lot of other dates and information that you can store for a process for a given container that becomes part of it. Also notice that in here, I failed to mention earlier, we keep track of total weight, total volume, duty, and so forth by container, so you'll have visibility over that as well. This is the tab where you enter your expenses into the system. So we've entered a system has auto-calculated a custom of $2,000, but we've entered it freight of $1,200, which the system would go ahead and allocate to every line item. This is where the vessel info basically would show you what's the vessel information. You notice that you enter the MMSI, that is the vessel number, and that vessel number is unique to that vessel. And when your broker would give you that or enter it into the system, and what the system does, we use a product called Vessel Finder. Vessel Finder will go ahead and will tell you, well, where that vessel is in the world. So at any point in time, we will go through, and when you click on information, it will show you, and you notice that it tells you the timestamps. That's the MMSI number. That's timestamp. What's that ETA? What's the its destination? What was the departure? It will show you in the map where it is in the world. So now the Vessel Finder is a chargeable product. It charges about, I think it's 2 to 3 cents per request that goes out to show you that vessel information on the map or log it in here. So the map would show you the map, but in the vessel info log, we would basically show you for each request where it was. Now you could set up a job. We have a job that you could set up where if you want once a day or twice a day for the system to go through and bring it, then for every container that you have on the water, you'll be charged 5 cents, 4 cents to do that. This is where you post the information to the in-transit register. Again, if your FOB is foreign dock, that selected container would be received into an in-transit warehouse. In-transit warehouse submission or set up by vendor or by destination warehouse by vendor. So if you have products coming to you in the way of New York or Los Angeles, you can set up different different in-transit registers. So everything in the container would go into the in-transit register warehouse. You could print your P&L balance sheet. You will see that all those information on the financial statements, and all of Acumatica's valuation reports or warehouse reports are available. This is showing you the IN transaction that gets generated. Container tallies allows you to enter the container and receive the quantities in the warehouse. So you just open it and you enter what you received from each item in that container, and then it would let you create the PO receipt based on that. If you have expenses that apply to multiple containers, you'll enter it in here, and we'll go ahead and allocate that expense to every item in each one of these containers for you automatically. So this is the expense that you entered, and it will go ahead and do that. This is the purchase receipt generated. So we will generate one purchase receipt per vendor. Again, in a given container, you can have products coming from multiple vendors. The system would generate the different receipt of good transactions once you receive that based on the tally information, and it will create the landed cost information for you as well based on all the expenses that you've entered into the container transaction. This is our QC tracking. So again, you could define by item whether you're checking for battery life tests, or you're checking for the package damage and so forth. And when you receive the product, you will receive it into a QC warehouse. You define the QC that you want to do by item, and after you complete it, it will create a transfer moving it from the keys location to the destination, the location that it should have gone to. One of the other things I want to show you is that in the allocation detail of Acumatica, we would show you by item, by warehouse, all the containers that product is coming in. As you know, from sales order entry, you can easily access inventory allocation. It shows you all the quantity and all the containers. But here it will show you each container. So you'll see the day, time. You can click on it, drill down to the container, and see the information. Now, as I've mentioned in our roadmap, is the ability to allow you to start allocating quantity that is in the containers that is not already, that the PO was not already generated for a sales order, to start allocating any quantity that is available to different sales orders. Now, we also manage sales order containers, and what this enhancement does, it allows you to select shipments, Acumatica shipments, and load items from shipment lines into a container. So if you have a container going once a month to, or once a week to Brazil or Russia or Australia, you can load it, and at any time will let you print the bill of lading for that. And it also, so you'll see exactly what's in that container, what's already been loaded in that container by shipment. Also, if you're doing warehouse transfers, transfer type sales orders, it would allow you to load items in here, and one of the actions, it would actually let you create the receiving document in the destination. So that's a quick overview. Now we're going to start looking at the item, looking at the program. So the first thing I want to show you is a purchase order, a couple of purchase orders that I've created for us to be able to go do this. So as you can see, there's nothing unusual about this purchase order. They've just been entered and approved. And what we're going to do, we're going to create a container transaction and receive this item into that container. Notice that we allow even from purchase order entry to look at the containers. If you have 40 items here, 100 items here, what is in each one of the containers. Now, all of the container related programs are in the container tab. So if I come in here and click on the PO containers, I'll see my containers. You can create different filters in transit planning, it's in the terminal, and so forth. So when I click on the plus sign, I'll be able to add a new container transaction system. Again, vendor optional. I can enter that vendor number if I want to. Otherwise, I can leave it blank. Container number, usually containers have a number printed on them. Freight forwarder, you can select the freight forwarder. And we do things like we will open up the if you don't have our vessel finder integration, we'll let you click on a link and it will take you to the website, and it will basically let you just load the number, MSI number in there, so already populated. Container type, so there's some other fields here. Container status, these are user definable. You can start by broker planning stage or overseas transportation. Country of origin, you can enter the country of origin that you want. Again, the country of origin is used for calculating tariff. Container type, you select 40-footer, whatever, a logistic company. Then most of these things now are informational that you just entered in the destination warehouse, LA, New York, and so forth. So we come to the POs and we MMSI number. So this is the number that our system uses to integrate with the vessel finder to show you where that vessel is on the road. And now you start typing in the either add the items, add a PO or specific PO line. So if I say add PO, I could select the PO that I've created. I can do my sorting. I can select the PO and it tells me that auto load the quantity is received. Or I could do add PO lines and go to my specific PO lines and vendors and items, and from here select what items I want to load into my POs and on and on. So it's very flexible when it comes to those things. So we could do more things here. Now again, you could select, as I said, specific lines of a PO and load all the quantities, or change the quantity and load what quantity you want to. So far we've created a PO container transaction. Container transaction 73 got created, and as notice we have different tabs here to enter some information about it. So the dates tab lets us enter, late tab lets us enter information here on it. Expected departure could be 02/15/2022, and expected arrival date could be 03/10/2022, and so forth and so on. So all of these dates are available. And again, we have the option of entering POs requested ETA based on this date, if that's what you set up in the preferences setup that we have available to you. Again, a whole bunch of information here: vendor, customer information, landed cost information. These two got auto-loaded, and let's look at where they came from. So if I click on this item, I have the ability to basically come here and see in the stock item form of Acumatica a custom classification code that is loaded. And if I click here to go to the custom classification code, you'll see that this allows me to have all the different custom classification codes and the tariff by each country: China, Canada, and so forth and so on. So the system uses this information entered here, and based on that, it would auto-calculate the landed cost, customs, and tariffs. But we can add additional ones. Anything we add in here: freight and transportation, $3,200. I can enter a vendor reference number, and once it's received, it will create the AP bill for that. So what the system is going to do is going to take all this amount and it's going to allocate it to every item in the container. So we have the tariff, we have the duty amount, we have the other allocated amount. They all get allocated to our container. So we have visibility over what the cost is as we receive invoices. Now, of course, at any time when it leaves, if it's a foreign dock, it's wherever it is, you could make those changes and see that information. And as we talked about, if you click on the freight forwarder, we would bring the freight forwarder website for you, and you can load the tracking ID, or you can, basically load that in here and so forth and so on. So that's part, and we even can easily load the tracking ID for you there. Or if you come to the vessel info, you can click on vessel info update. It will go in and get the vessel, and it has all kind of fields that are available. And basically, it will tell you the departure time, latitude, altitude, all the information that you want to keep for the vessel. It's already in here, the ETA, the remaining distance, and builder of the vessel, and so forth and so on. Now, in Acumatica, as you know, you decide which one of these fields you want to show and in which order. So in any one of these fields you don't want to see here, or you want to change the order of this field, maybe to you it's more important that see one or the other, this field or that field, you would just bring it and put it in here. So when you come in here, it will also show you on the vessel on the map, so you'll be able to see where it is on the map. So what we've also done, we've created a program where you could easily come in here and set up an automated job that once a year or twice a day, once a day or twice a day or 3 times a day or every 2 hours, it goes to the vessel finder website, and basically from there gets the information and updates that log, so you have visibility over exactly where that container is on the water as it's coming your way. So far we have a container. We've created, we've loaded 2 purchase orders. We've entered an additional expense for it that, we've entered some dates. We've entered an additional expense for it that got entered in here. We looked at the vessel information. These are just all information that is available to us. Now, as part of this enhancement, we also, we let you do other things: print a commercial invoice, print a packing list, and so forth if you need to access it. As I mentioned, in the inventory screen, when you're looking at the inventory allocation detail for any one of these items, we'll show you what's in containers. You can look at the containers. You can drill down to any one of these containers and go see the information right from here or from the purchase order. So if you're entering a sales order and you want to see what containers the product is coming on, you could see that. And as I mentioned, we give you the ability to receive products into an in-transit warehouse. So in transit warehouse, it gives you the ability to basically select the container. And notice that what it's going to do, there's a quantity of 30, and its system would allow us to receive that into an in-transit warehouse. Again, in-transit warehouse are set up by vendor or by destination location, by vendor or by company. And the system, what it's going to do, notice that this quantities would move from here to in-transit. If you click on IN documents, you will see that it's created an inventory document in Acumatica for the product, so you can see the IN receipt. All the product gets received into an in-transit warehouse, and again, everything that it got received into in-transit warehouse would get fully reversed out when you receive the product in your main warehouse, and your main warehouse would get updated most likely by the tally quantity that you've entered. I want to point out again, whether we looked at the custom and duty loading or the portion to in-transit, these are all optional items. If you do not want to do them, you don't need to do them. The same thing with processing tallies, where it gives you ability to select that in a container and basically enter, the folks in the warehouse can enter what quantities they received for that. So you can do completely shipped, so we can save that. And then once you're working with the container, you can do an import tally, and the import tally would let you basically load those quantities into the tally transaction, and on and on and on and on. So we go from there into what we're doing. So basically the system, it allows us to basically perform all the different functions that we have, and basically from here, perform all the things that we need to do. So if you click here, you'll see some of the other functions. Generate the PO receipt. And again, PO receipt gets generated one per vendor. If you have multiple vendors, you can remove it from hold and you can release it. And this is where the information now gets updated based on the tally entries, and what was received into in-transit warehouse gets completely reversed out. Basically, and then from there, the system would create the landed cost transactions that we have for us. So that's a quick overview of our container tracking enhancement. Of course, we talked about QC function, where you have the ability to do QC operations by item and the different stages. By stock item, you set up what QC functions need to be performed and all that. So Jay, I'm done with what I wanted to cover today. If there's any questions, I can answer.
Okay, great, Alec, we do have a question here. Larry is asking, is landed cost included in the transit amounts on the financials?
Landed cost, basically, when Acumatica generates the landed cost transactions, they will get posted to the GL, and they'll all become part of the cost of the item that is used when parts are consumed. It may help for me to point out that when we create the PO receipt and we create the landed cost transaction, we just create those transactions. We hand the information over to Acumatica, and Acumatica does all the updatings as part of when the PO receipt and so forth. So we just create the PO receipt and we just create the landed cost transaction for Acumatica, but the rest of it, Acumatica handles it all.
Okay, very good. All right, it doesn't look like we have any additional questions. With that, let me also say that we have videos of these demonstrations on our website. So our AcuContainer can be seen, as well as the others can be seen on our website, and there's data sheets also available to you there. And we would be happy to do what we can to assist you in better understanding the product and how it may improve your processes.
And
okay, no other.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
I
Alec.
wanted to point out that there's some PO receipt requirements that were set up as part of the QC function, and those would need to be performed before that PO receipt can be released, and that's basically what that was the issue with the PO receipt generation. So this is the item. These are the QC functions that we've specified for PO receipt. They've not been done. So once I come to the QC tracking module and see the QC that needs to be performed for that item, then I'll be able to release my.
Okay, we do have another question that just came up here.
Sure.
Here it is. Does tariff and duty charges are considered part of the landed cost?
Yes, they'll just become a part. If you, again, these are all optional, but yes, if you enter it, it'll automatically get loaded into containers. It would get automatically loaded into the purchase receipt and the landed cost transaction that is generated because of that process.
Okay. I think we've got all the questions answered here. With
If
that,
you
unless
have
you had
any questions specific to any one of these items, please feel free to reach out and we can talk about it in detail.
All righty. Well, let's say be well to everybody. Have a great day. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.